Hi everyone, and welcome to AFL Asia's podcast, How Good's Footy in Asia. We're up to episode 8 this afternoon, and our special guest this afternoon is none other than the matriarch from the Lao Elephants, Caroline Bottrill. How are you, love?
I'm good, thanks, Maddie. How are you?
Yeah, good. So your co-host, Matty Gale, and also got Bill Crane over there, the former Vietnam Swans captain. How's things over your way, Bill?
Yeah, not bad. Bit of rain out and about today, but yeah, all good.
Yeah, I'm absolutely over the rainy season here in Japan. I think it's felt like it's rained for probably the last 2 weeks. We've had to call off a training session or two.
Is that why you're walking in the middle of the night?
Well, it's actually cooler to walk in the rain than what it is to be inside. So I'm trying to keep to an average of about 20 Ks a day at the moment, and only had one rained out day out of the 7. So got a big walk coming up in a couple of weeks' time, 34K trek from Osaka to Nara. But more importantly, how's things over your way? Has the coronavirus subsided and it's cleared up in Laos?
Our government, I can't praise the government enough. Like, everyone left. Everyone's, like, most expats left. Obviously, our health system isn't the greatest, so there was a bit of a scare. But it took us a few weeks, really, before we actually had any cases at all. And we only had 19 confirmed cases, and we were locked down for a month completely. As soon as they got to about 14 or 13, I think, they locked us completely down, and we're still in lockdown. So we can travel around the country now, but we still can't come and go.
Okay. We're getting about 100 cases a day, 130, 150 cases a day within the greater greater Tokyo. Osaka itself's probably around climbing up to about 10 or 15 a day. So we went from 24 active up to about 75 now. So, but the main concern's obviously in the hub there in the greater Tokyo. Bill, I'd rather not be in Victoria, and as SA people say, Vic, all clear, right to pay over in Vietnam, and you had the North versus South game not just the one game, but a massive cross-code football tournament over the weekend, which consisted of Aussie rules and rugby. How did that all pan out, mate?
Yeah, I was going to mention something about Victoria and anyone who left Southeast Asia to get back to the safety of Melbourne. Well done. But gee whiz. But yeah, it was incredible. So we had between the male, female, rugby, Gaelic, and AFL. We had the 6 iterations of each sport. We would have had a few hundred people on the field, plus the Halita beer people sent out about 30 promo girls. But it's just amazing to think, to have that couple of hundred people at a venue. We've flown up there in full Jetstar planes. It's just another world. And yeah, all good. Very very exciting to be playing competitive footy. We played in the rain. We played in the steaming sun. I coached the women in the baking sun in the afternoon, so I got sunburnt, soaked, everything. But just great to be out playing a bit of footy.
No, that's fantastic. First tournament in Asia post-COVID-19, but I guess it must be a little bit of a historical moment that we've had so many codes playing at the same venue in a domestic competition. Never heard anything like it.
No, Big Keezy was actually, when he was president, we set up something called the Central Vietnam Games. And we brought those 3 codes to the middle of the country. And it got harder and harder year on year because, I don't know, one code would have a tour late in the season or something like that. So it hasn't run for 2 or 3 years. But it did run for about 3 years and was at a similar sort of level. And it was really fun because we go down to the beachside town of Da Nang, Hoi An, and have the 3 codes run amok down there for a weekend as well. So we're hoping to turn it into a 3-leg event this year. Next one's in the south at the end of next month, and then we'll work out the central, which hopefully will be the decider for all the sports. And three sort of events out of a year that we're not otherwise sure what we'll get.
Yeah, I guess one of the concerning things is the future of tournaments Asia-wide. Obviously, the Lao Elephants, Caroline, were meant to host this year's Indochina Cup. And
it was the most perfect weekend, Matt. The weekend we were meant to be on, May the 23rd. we could not have actually ordered better weather. It was perfect. And it was like, oh my God, this is so frustrating. And we were in lockdown at the time as well, but it was spot on weather. It would have been so great. It wasn't hot, it wasn't muggy, it was perfect.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting times ahead whether we can actually scrape together any international footy as a tournament this year, whether it be ICC or Asian Champs. But fingers crossed things can turn around, but it's not looking like it's going to change anytime soon. Having said that, though, let's kick off the official podcast. Brilliant to have you on board and looking forward to today's podcast with you. Over to you, Bill.
All right, I'll just give a shout out to an ex-Swanee, actually, Jared Dale, watching from Kenya, of all places. So he didn't go home either. Right. But yeah, great to have plenty of ex-Swannies, Elephants, Dingoes, and all the other teams across Asia watching, and current players. So, Caroline, you're a country South Oz girl. Can you let us know a little bit about where you grew up and how it was, population size, and what was the sporting scene like, and how involved were you in it?
Yep, sure. So I'm from, like you said, South Australia country, so Port Pirie. So those who know that, it's sort of 2.5 hours. Back in my day when I was a kid, it was 3.5 hour drive from Adelaide to Port Pirie. It's only a small-ish town. I don't actually know, Maddie, how many people there nowadays? I'd say 15,000 there might have been around about.
Yeah.
So grew up with my mum, dad, and 2 baby sisters, and dad worked for the local smelter. Was in Pirie till I was around 18. I left around 17, I think I was, and then went back when I was 19. Played lots of sport our whole life. Pirie's a very sporty town, so grew up playing sport my whole life. And followed footy, I guess, through my dad. My dad he had 3 girls, so we all had to sort of be his boys at the same time. So we followed the Prop Football Club back in those days. It's now Prop Brisbane, I think, the Lions, I think they're called now. But Props was our team that we followed, and always at the footy club on a Saturday arvo after netball. So we'd play netball, then head over to the footy and watch whoever was playing. Well, we basically used to collect Coke bottles back then and take them to the canteen and get 20 cents worth of lollies. That was our way of keeping us occupied. But grew up my whole life. So Pirie's, none of my immediate family is still there, but lots of my friends and stuff are still there, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, not many people know that Port Pirie has the largest lead smelter in the world. And it wasn't until we met each other at the 2018 Indochina Cup over in Cambodia that we first met and realised that you grew up in Port Pirie and that I still own a house there. So it's quite remarkable that two of the top dogs in Asia are from the same place or have a very common thread with friends.
Well, I think we've got so many Facebook friends that are common. That's why I asked you that day, because all of a sudden all these people that I know are liking your things, and I'm like, how does Matt know those? And that's how and then I found out you're a bit of an icon there.
I wouldn't say I'm the icon, but the biggest icon probably to come out of Port Pirie is the Adelaide Crows premiership captain, 2-time premiership captain, Mark Bickley. He's 3 years older than you. Did you have much to do with Bix growing up or on the side?
Well, I know him, and like I could still say hello and have a chat with him now. I never went to school. You're right. He's about 2 or 3 years older than me, but definitely he was our local hero, and we all loved him and followed him. And obviously back then there was only the Crows, so most of us sensible people stayed with the Crows. We didn't sway over to that other silly team. But I was actually thinking when you asked me that question, we've had a few local boys play. I mean, we had heaps of our young boys head off and play Sandful, but we had a couple of AFL boys. So I was thinking about that before. But, Mark Bickley would be our local hero when it comes to AFL, definitely. He still would be. If he walked back into the town and went to Memorial Oval, he'd be swamped by probably most people, probably up until about 10 years younger than us, I would say, still would follow him as a bit of an icon. So, yeah, and his family, Bubs is his mum. Everyone still knows his mum as Bubs Bickley, and they were Solly. So I didn't really have much to do with Solly Footy Town, but definitely know Mark and his family. So yeah, beautiful people.
Yeah.
So
and very, very, very humble too. Never did he come back and think he was better than Pirie. he always used to come back just as a local lad and give his time to junior football, and he's a great guy.
Wow, awesome. Obviously, he'd be a little bit concerned. You'd be a bit concerned about the Crows 2020 season. No, next.
That wasn't on the question list.
Okay, so family-wise, how and when did you meet your husband Paul?
So as I said, I went back to Puri when I was 19, and Paul was working there as he'd been first year out of uni at the Smelters that Matt mentioned, and we were at the local BHAS Community Club, which is the Smelters' like local on a Friday night. Those who know me and Paul, you can probably imagine we were having a good time, and went over to the local central across the road, and the rest is 28 years, I guess, ago, and here we are, I guess, So that's probably the two period. That's where I'd probably, if you actually ask, probably half of people our age, that's where they met. So
You've since had two beautiful kids in Nikita and Kai. Where are they living at the moment? What are they up to? And what's the hardest thing about not being physically next to them? I say you've been doing this for a couple of years now, but particularly with the COVID-19 where there's no travel available for you to travel home. But more importantly, give us a bit of background about the two kids that you totally adore.
Yeah, I do, and you'll probably get me crying now. But 4 years we've been here. The first 2 years Kai was with us at school here, and then Nikita spent 1 year here with us. But they're both back in Australia, both with their partners. They're doing great. Kai is 18 in Brisbane at UQ, second year doing business, commerce and finance, and having a very, very good fun time on Dad's money, having a great life. And Nikita is in Adelaide. So when we left, she was in Townsville. She came over here for a year, then went down to Adelaide and was closer to family, where all our family is. And she did 2 years of pharmacy and then decided she didn't like it. So then is now doing a business marketing, communications, PR sort of work, wants to work probably in a sporting field of marketing and PR, I think. Plus she's also doing, she just won a scholarship actually to do a personal trainer course. So she's doing that as well. So she's, doing great. So they're both really happy. Nikita doesn't like the cold weather. We've lived in the tropics most of our life. But they're both happy, and just spoke to Kai before this morning, actually, just finished his last exam for mid-years. So,
Just slightly off the questions here, but what would you, having lived in Asia for a few years and travelled about with footy and probably life in general, what would you say to the kids at their stage now, finishing degrees and things like that, about looking to work in Asia at some stage in their working lives?
I think I wish we did this when the kids were little. I wish we'd done it ages ago. I could live in Laos forever and a day. I love it. Vietnam either. But I guess there's probably a really good chance Kai will end up in Asia because his girlfriend is Lao, and she's studying at UQ as well, and she's doing law, international studies, and she has complete aspirations to be quite influential in the Asia culture and their business area. So there's a pretty good chance that they will end up back in Asia. I'd tell any kid, to be honest, kid these days to come and, do it while you can and do it while you're young, and don't leave it not that it's too late. It's never too late, but I just think you grow as a person being away, and also just learning their culture. And they're just, let's be honest, the Asians are just gorgeous in every aspect. I've never been to any country where I haven't loved the people that I've met. So,
yeah, fascinating. Just as you were mentioning the kids' stages, I thought that. Does Kai play any footy? Is he going to be a future?
He played last.
Elephants?
No, he played. That's actually, so I think it's one of the questions a bit later, but that's one of the reasons. I'll get to that a bit later. But he played last year back in. He's a little fatty these days. He's put on that much. He drinks beer and he's a party uni kid. So But yeah, he played for a local Brisbane club. But I think he lasted 4 games and pulled a quad or something, got a corky, and yeah, he's a bit. He used to play a lot of footy, so our life revolved around the kids in sport in Townsville.
Yep.
Kai was quite a good. He was in this. He played for a lot of Townsville rep, and we travelled a lot with schoolboys and Townsville Eagles, and played a lot of soccer and basketball. Yeah, so we were always travelling with the kids' sport as they grew up.
So you mentioned Townsville, Port Pirie. Where else around Australia did you live?
So we went so Paul's actually from the Riverland. So he moved to Adelaide to uni and then come to Pirie, and that's where we sort of started. Then we moved down to Rosebery in Tasmania.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know if you know, it's a little mining town on the west coast of Tasmania, and it's my favourite place in the world. Rains 340 days of the year, and it's freezing cold. It's horrible. But, yeah, we lived there, and then we moved up to Mossman in far north Queensland. So we went from hell to heaven and lived just north of Port Douglas. Both the kids were born in Cairns, and we were there till Keita was 5. Keita was 4, Kai was 1, and then we moved back to the Barossa Valley, and Paul was manager of Penfolds.
Wow.
So we lived in the Barossa for 5 years, and then we moved up to Townsville, and then from Townsville we moved to Lao. So Queensland, South Australia, Tasmania.
Wow, that's some pretty hard yards and some long days. I know when you got involved, or when you lived in Townsville, you got involved with the Townsville Crocs, who are now a defunct NBL team. One of their American imports, Jordair Jet, who since played for the Wollongong Hawks 2 years ago. You consider him one of your own sons, even though he's an American import. How did that all come about?
Yeah, he's my big baby boy. So a big boy. So when I was working for the Crocs, I was a bit of a jack of all trades there as well. So I was like the operations sort of manager and looked after player welfare and media, everything. We were sort of slowly slipping into the where the administration. So we didn't have a lot of staff. So I sort of did a lot of things. So I remember organising Jordair's visa and stuff, and Jordair is not a very organised person at all. So it was really hard. And but I met him at the airport, and I did never imagined him being the size he was, and he was this big, not as tall as such, but big, strong boy. And so Kai we've always been basketball family, like all our lives. We've followed basketball, and Kai come with me to the airport, and we picked Jordair up, and straight away he was Kai's godfather. Like Kai just loved him, and we went back to our house, and we went and picked up his car. Anyway, to cut long story short, from that day, he stayed with us for the first couple of days because his house wasn't ready. And him and Kai were just like brothers immediately. And then from the whole time he was 2 years that he was with us, he basically ate at our house every night. And I had to cook 3 times what I've ever had to cook before. So he was a little bit, he'd just come back from a knee rehab. I'm looking at a photo of him and Kai right now, actually. He had just come back from a knee rehab, and he was a little bit carrying a bit of weight. So the club trainer got in my ear and told me what he was allowed to have and what he wasn't, and he hated it because he was a fried chicken boy and typical American food. And I had to sort of try and put the brakes on and feed him properly. And so he just basically, and when I was really lucky this year. So Kai went and stayed with him a couple of years ago. Well, from Lao, when Kai was here, went over in the summer holidays. And I never believed he's really from, he used to tell me he was from the hood, and I never really believed him. But I was lucky enough to go there this year in January and stay with him. And he is actually quite sad to say, but he's very proud of his background and his colour and his culture, and he actually lives not far away from the George, the recent death. So when I got there, I realised how much his eyes must have opened up when he first come to Australia, because he's really from a beautiful family, beautiful, gorgeous family. They're very, very close knit and love each other and support each other. But it was very hard because his mum was a bit sick, so she could never come over and watch. We tried to get her over to Australia, but we couldn't get her over to watch. And and when I went over there, it was really beautiful. His mum introduced me to everyone as, this is Jordair's Aussie mum, and it was beautiful. But yeah, so we're still, we were lucky enough. Again, Kai went and spent some time with him in Wollongong, and I went over 2 times when he was in Wollongong. I was lucky enough to go and watch him play under Bevo, which so he's been very lucky. He had Sean Dennis and Bevo, 2 of the best coaches, I would say, and Mike Kelly, actually. So probably 3 of the best coaches. The 3 last year, probably coaches of the year of the NBL, he was lucky enough to play under. So, yeah, I'd love to see him back out on the court. Who knows what the NBL future is as well. But, they're doing great. The new owners, terrible and sad of what happened to the Crocs. And it was, wish it was a different situation. But, mining went down and just life as it is. And sponsorship slipped. But we'd love to see Jordair back out on the basketball court in NBL or any club, any league, really. But, yeah.
Yeah. Whilst you're up there in Townsville, what other import players did they have in their NBL club?
So Brian Conklin.
Oh, yeah.
Brian Conklin. Well. So he was MVP. He was like league MVP when he played with the Crocs. Right. We had Big McCurl. We had, Brian, Omar. I don't know, Omar Samran. He played with us for a while. I don't want to forget anyone. They're all special. Every import was special. All different, all very different. Imports were different. They were very, very loyal, but every one of them different. Not one of them was the same. But, we had a lot of local great stars too. So we had the Toddy Blanchfords, Mitch Norton. We had Nick Kay. So we had, if we had lasted one more year, we would have been, we had that whole group went down to the Wollongong Hawks and got into the grand final. Yep. So they were, we lost. One more year, we would have been awesome.
Yeah. Let's move on to the big move to Lao. How did that come about?
So Paul worked for MMG out at Century Mine, and MMG was currently the owner here, and he just was called by one of his, ex-bosses and asked to come over and do a shutdown, actually. So he just come over for like an Easter break and then come back, and then they kept him on like a 3-month contract, and the next flight back, they offered him a residential role. So he rang me and he was like, you won't want to come here, you'll hate it, blah, blah. So then I started researching Lao, and I couldn't see anything that I would hate. We'd been to Asia before, so we knew a little bit about what to expect. But so then it was really difficult because Nikita was first year of uni and Kai was going into he was midway through year 10 in Aussie days. But moving over was going to put Kai in a real struggling situation of his age and schooling. So he was only 14, and so we at the end of the day, we had to convince Kai because he was, a 14-year-old, all his mates and everything. And Nikita, she was a bit more independent, but it was still really hard to leave a 16-year-old behind, 17-year-old behind. So we come over, Kai and I come over for a site visit, and they showed us around, and we went to the school, and the principal of the school and the student counsellor for seniors school were both Aussies, and first straight away started talking to Kai about football and won him over, and Kai still was anti. He didn't want to come at all. He sort of hated us for a long time, but in the end, once he sort of accepted that it's happening, so then I think it was really quite interesting. We left Townsville to go to down the Sunshine Coast for a football tournament for Kai for schoolboys, and from there we flew over here for our site visit. And, a month later, we went back, packed up, and here we were. And like I said, could live here forever, love it. And Paul's contract's coming to an end, so we're not really sure the long-term future, but yeah.
So
we were only coming for 2 years. For 2 years.
I've heard that before.
And, so 4 years later, we're still here. And as I said, we would both probably more than be happy to stay, so, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people, and especially Australians, get to the beaches of Asia, so the Bali, Thailand, even increasingly the Vietnamese beaches, or the big cities like Singapore, Hong Kong, even Bangkok. But not so many would probably get to Laos. So tell us a little bit about how Laos is as a country. How is life in Laos? How are the people?
So Lao would be less developed than any of like our probably AFL Asia group would be still probably one of the least developed countries. So it is still pretty raw out on the streets, to be honest. Like especially if you go past the sort of expat zone, it's still pretty, wires everywhere like you used to see in Bali and stuff, and lots of street food. So the locals don't really have kitchens a lot in their houses. They still generally buy from the street food stores. The local people are just gorgeous. Like I honestly have learnt so much from the local people. They're just beautiful people. The culture is a bit of a mix, like mainly Buddhist, like very Buddhist, and lots of monks around. So lots of temples and monks, and almsgiving still in the morning, very traditional. Like sunrise, people line the streets and give food to the monks. So still very traditional in a lot of old ways, and they still do everything very basic. Even like my Maybarn, that was a bit of a thing, let me tell you. That's why I tell the kids to get over here. Like it was pretty hard it wasn't hard, it was easy, but it was quite a shock to come and not work, because I've always worked my whole life, and to come over here and not be allowed to work, number one. And I did a lot of community stuff at school and to keep myself busy, but to have staff, and we don't even call them staff like that. We've treated them like our family since. Like it's going to be as hard to leave here and say goodbye to our staff as it would have been to say goodbye to Nikita when we left her in Australia. Like we love our staff. So my Maybarn, like she has learnt to use a food processor instead of having to use the old, mash up, and she still buys a full chicken and makes chicken mince out of it and stuff like that. So they're so cute, and they're still very much developing, and they just do everything the original way. And food, their staple diet would be beer lao and papaya salad. So you'll see guys here, you'll go down the street any time of the morning. I'm honest to God, hand on my heart, from 7, 8 in the morning, and there'll be groups of men sitting around our like little corner shops drinking beer, and they'll drink all day. We don't mind a drink, but I've never drank so much as what I have in Laos. Like they love to drink. And papaya salad would be their probably staple. Locals eat a lot of salted fish cooked on the barbecue on the side of the road. A lot of moose, so pork, a lot of chicken. Goat, sort of at a bar. If we have a party, we'll always have a full goat on the spit, and they'll turn it themselves one by one. They'll make the spit like it's sticky rice, just a lot of the normal Asian stuff, but sticky rice, papaya salad, beer lao, goat would be their staple diet.
Yeah, that goat on the spit sounds about right for me. Let's move on to the footy side of things now. How long Paul moved to the house with the mining job? How long did it take to get involved with the Laos Elephants?
Well, we were sort of Paul had already signed up before we actually moved, because it was I've never seen Paul play football in my life. So in 24 years, I'd never seen him play football. But he did play, actually, Matt, for Port. I didn't know that, but he played for Port Bulldogs, your team. Yeah. Only B grade, I think. But anyway, part of Kai's biggest concern was the sports side of things, because the international school is really small here, so there wasn't a real big sporting competition at all. There's only school sport. So the one thing that was exciting to Kai when we visited was they play in the Mekong competition. So he got to go to Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, and play volleyball, basketball. Never played volleyball before, but he's a very sporty kid. So he always made soccer, he always made the school team. So he got to travel with that. That was quite. But the boys from Sepon, so the mine, that's probably where most of our players come from, Sepon. And so back, I don't know if you remember Tom Tom was the president of the Lao Elephants, Tom Christopherson. So Tom worked for Paul, and so they allowed Kai. So it was Paul only played so Kai could play. He was only 14, and we went to Ho Chi Minh. So we moved here in August, and October was Ho Chi Minh, and it was Asia Champs. And they allowed Kai to play, and he was bloody tiny. I don't know if any of you remember him back then, but he was a midget. He was tiny. So you guys probably met. I'm thinking you're giggling, and you can remember the Shanghai Cup that he played in against the Singapore guy, and Kai tackled him. But Kai was half that size. Kai was tiny.
I think Kai took down Big Nashville, Big Nashy.
Yeah, that was in Shanghai. That was in Shanghai, and that's still that popped up in my memory the other day. Actually, that was a cool thing. But they reenacted it at the game, at the Port Suns game. We met in the Aussie zone outside, and they played a little, reenacted it and videoed it for the guy for his Facebook. But so that's how we got involved. So we really did it for Kai's sake, to sort of give him that sport that we took away from him. And that's how we got involved. And initially, Kate was Tom's wife, and Kate and Tom basically ran the club because Quiggy used to run it. And then Quiggy had gone back to Perth. So Tom and Kate had taken over. And then it wasn't long after we got here that they left and went to Belgium or somewhere. Sorry, I can't remember exactly, somewhere a long way away. And then that's when Kate sort of asked me I was helping Kate a little bit with the fundraising side, and then it sort of just landed in my lap, really, because there were no real other wives that were sort of interested in, and all the boys are always out at work. So that's how we got involved.
And what is your official role with the Elephants? And probably more importantly, behind the scenes, kind of what are some of the things you do that have seen you earn the title, the matriarch of the Lao Elephants?
There's only two people that call me that, and that's Matt and bloody Caro. I even had to, this is how dumb I am, I even had to look up what it meant, and then I had to have a giggle to myself. But I don't know my total. So on the committee as such, I'm just known really as sponsorship and tournament coordinator is sort of what we called me. But we don't really, we're sort of very disjointed because we've just lost so many people over the time we've been here. Paul's president, and I guess I'm president. So Paul's name's president, but I just do everything, and that's no disrespect. So when I really be honest, like, there's a couple, when we talk about the future of the club, I'll talk about a few individuals, but the boys, are always there to help whatever I need. But if it wasn't, I have the time, don't forget. So I sit here and don't do much. So I have the time to, prepare everything. And, I'm just mum, I guess. And I think I'm just back in Australia. Another thing I did a lot of was team management of our rep teams. So basketball rep teams. So I guess I just took that cap on as the team manager, and it just evolved to, I had the president email, I had the treasurer. It just got to, as everyone left, I had to just take that next hat. So when Lockie left, he was the president. He was the treasurer. When he left, I had to take that part over. So, it just evolved to a bit of everything. So, I don't know. I giggled when you asked me that when I read that question, because I don't know what my title is.
I do think that once you take over the email account of any football club, that's it. You're once you start getting those emails,
Well, it's blocked now. We can't even get into it. So now it's our personal email.
Yeah.
So apps now. So I'm actually in the middle of trying to get that fixed for when we left. But anyway, so I don't know. I love it. Like I love this part of sport. Like I've always, it's probably my passion, and I'll probably go back to doing something I'll probably find some nieces or something that I can be involved in junior sport and do management or something of some sort. I love that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Matriarch, there's been
I'm the bossy bitch at the tournaments. So any of the clubs in the tournaments would just, that's probably what my title is. Who's that bossy thing over there with the elephants? So.
Yeah, well, you do a fair chunk of the work, because when we try to get a photo of you for our Facebook post to promote your upcoming podcast, I soon realised going through your photos that you take all the photos and you're never in any of the bloody photos yourself.
Well, if I'm not taking them, I'm bloody boundary umpiring because the lazy buggers won't do it. And then I'm running back to get them set up to tell them what field they're on. And then I'm making sure they're in the right bloody uniforms because I think we're the best dressed team out there ever.
Yeah.
And, so a bit of everything. But I just like to think of myself as helping all the boys actually keep together as a club and being able to go to tournaments because I'd hate to see them not be able to go there.
Yeah, I think you probably recognise internally as a bit of a mother hen, but like Caro and I said, you're more of a matriarch, and I'm glad that you've actually gone and researched the terminology yourself. Let's go back to the mines. There's been a massive exodus of expats over the last 4 or 5 years because of the mining game has obviously gone a little bit belly up. That's turned to a really strong reliance on local development and blooding local players. Can you give us a bit of an insight into and how that's all developed over time?
Yeah, so when we got here, it was probably, you're right, there was a lot more. The first tournament we went to, I was quite surprised, actually, which was Shanghai, and I was just a supporter. I remember even there, I've helped, gave myself the title. I made sure we had a proper first aid kit, and thank God we did because that's the year Honda got really sick, and I had everything for afterwards, but he got hit in the head. Remember the Bali guy and him collided, and they both went off in the ambulance. But the development back then was a lot of expats in our team. There was hardly any Lao people, so that sort of surprised me. There was only about 3 or 4 that come away. But we have been, I know it's sort of a passion of like the Langers and Milne, since Milne's been there. So Langers and Milne really pushed the training out at Sepon. Pubia mine has dropped off because we don't really have any expats that play, so we don't really get many locals from out that way anymore, whereas we used to get a handful from the expats. So predominantly our development is really just guys that work with the Langers and the Simos and the Pools and the Milnes out at work, and if they spot them on the soccer field being like really athletic, they'll grab them and show them a football and get them kicking the ball around the oval. And so they do a lot of I think they only normally, I say tournament date is this, move your butts, and probably a month before they'll start kicking the footy around. So, it's a very casual affair and it's very fun. But I am very proud that over the 3 years that we've sort of been really involved, we always are really proud that we probably have the less skilled team ever, but we always have filled the most local players. So I think the last ICC it wasn't ICC. What's Pattaya? It was Asian Chess, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh no, hang on. It might have been ICC in Bangkok. I don't know. But the last tournament we had 9. We actually had 10 locals coming, but we had a passport issue at the gate, so one of them got left behind. But we had 9 locals play. And, we've got some players that, we've got the Hondas and the Luckies and the Udons and the Chompies who have won the Asia game, all Asia player. And, we have 4 or 5 that have been always there, and, they love it. But we're never going to ever be able to, unless something happens and there's a massive turnaround, we're never going to be able to compete. That's why we were very blessed, and we're really thankful of Division 3 coming in, because it got very disheartening for everyone getting so thrashed game after game after game. And the poor buggers, you can remember they play soccer and then all of a sudden they just kick the football around out at Sepon, and then they turn up for a tournament, and the first time they get the ball, they have a Kero tackle them, It's pretty daunting on them. They sort of don't really...
Kero wouldn't catch them.
No, he tricks them. He tells them to go that way and he's there. But there's some pretty big expat guys out there that chuck our little boys around, and you're not ready for it. They're not even prepared for it. So, your Vietnamese little boys, they've played with you guys in a local comp. They know it. Our guys literally get off a plane, have a big Friday night out wherever we've taken them, get up early, chucked into uniform, onto a field and start getting chucked around. They're not used to it. So, it's great. So the development really is just the mine site, to answer your question in short. Sorry, Maddie. So whatever they can grab at the mine, They do. We've tried to get Oz Kick-Off and going, and it's been something I've wanted to do the whole time we've been here. But again, we don't have enough Aussie local kids at the international school that are interested in getting involved. So yeah, it's really hard. It is really hard. So
a big quick shout out to Stefan, who was one of our earlier guests, but she's obviously enjoying the podcast. How important do you think local development is? Maybe not so much just in Lao, where it's actually what the footy club is, but across the region.
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, just listening to the podcast and listening to the local guys, how much they love being involved, and especially the guy that had his photo taken with his wedding day in his Guernsey. What's his name?
Rook.
Yeah, like, you know, and then your Dragons guys. Like, it's just, I love just watching the camaraderie between them when they actually play their All Asia game. That's the best game that I love, because they all get to actually play to their level. And I think it's one game that I know we talked about cutting out when we were going to have ICC here, and I'm so glad that everyone voted not to, because that's the game of the day. Like, I don't, I think that it gets a little bit too serious with some of the older expats, and it gets, which is great because that's AFL Asia, and it keeps the Australia guys in the game when they're not living there.
Yep.
But I think it's the introduction of the young of all the locals is the thing I love the most. And the thing I love even more, if I could actually add, is the women that have joined in now. But I love our wives, we have 3 wives that come every year, and their love of the game, and they run water with me, and they do, they help me get Katsa, they call me Katsa, and they fill the water bottles up and they run water. Like, I just love, I was so disappointed we couldn't have it here, because I think if we'd had ICC here with the girls involved, I had a committee with 3 local girls that were really doing a lot of work with me, and I think we probably would have had a women's team as well. And I think it's such a shame, because I thought it was going to be a huge opportunity, but anyway, life is COVID and we have to live with that. But as I said, I love the locals being involved, and I love that game of the day. It's my favourite game.
You mentioned your love of...
I can stop and have a drink as well.
You mentioned your love of the women's side of things and the growth of AFLW in Asia, which has absolutely been tremendous for us and Asia-wide. You finally got an opportunity to have a crack at a debut game at the last year's Indochina Cup in Thailand for the Thailand Tigers. Let us know what it was all about, and how did you find the tempo and the physicality of the game, considering you don't mind throwing your weight around yourself?
No, it's good. I actually did play, though, up in Port Douglas. So we had a women's comp up there. So I played before I had kids. And then I think maybe even when Nikita was born, I went back. So I'm talking 21 years ago. But I was very active then and played sport every day. I still played basketball at quite a high level. But I haven't done anything like that. So I don't know, you weren't there, Matt, but no. If you saw how strapped out I was, if you saw how my knees and my ankles were strapped up, the boys were like, "Oh, no, madam, you can't go out there." I was strapped everywhere. And but the tempo, I couldn't believe actually how fast it was. It was actually, I played full forward or centre half forward, so I didn't have to go far. And the only chance, I had a chance for a bloody goal and I stuffed it up. And I was so proud. I was there. I was only like 10 metres out, and I frigging kicked it out to the nowhere. And then Paul was videoing it, so that was rather embarrassing. So the kids, everyone saw it. And then I had a chance of a free kick, and bloody Kero took it off of me and gave it away because he reckons I was kicking in danger. Oh, gosh. But I loved playing. Those Cambodia girls are freaks. I tell you, they are bloody good footballers. They are good.
Yep.
But yeah, I loved it. I was looking forward to playing again with the Tiger girls at the next. I'd even already told Jared and stuff that I'm put me down again. I loved it, and now I'm fit and healthy and like bloody lost a bit of weight. I could have enjoyed it a bit more. So we'll see if it happens.
So Stefan's actually come back with a great question. Do you think Lao will be keen to go again next year to host the ICC? For anyone who doesn't know, we mentioned it was going to be there this year.
I would love to say yes, but it really will depend on who's still around, I think. To be honest, like we've got the, I would love to say that we could still do it before December. Like if I knew I'm due to leave in October, but in all honesty, if I knew that there was an opportunity to do it in November or early December, I would probably be more than happy to hang around and do it. I just really would love to see it happen. But next year, it really would depend on who's around, and I guess it could also depend. I had a little committee going, so who knows? I wouldn't say no, but I would say depends. That's all. That's the only way I could answer it.
It's interesting you mentioned this year because AFL Asia hasn't ruled out the champs, but I keep saying to our boys on the ground here, as we're trying to get as much footy as we can, to stay ready, because and let's think about the chances that might just pop up at the end of the year. So that would be incredible. The Luang Prabang Indochina Cup was definitely my best footy tour ever.
Yeah. Okay. So we were going to do it here in Vientiane this year.
Yeah.
We've got the Lao Tobacco has got a big oval, and we already had it all planned. It was going to be amazing. It was going to be the best ICC ever. Guarantee it. Hand on my heart, it was going to be the best. We had so much planned, and it was just going to be so good. But anyway, that's a shame. But I hear from a lot of people. That was a couple of years before we were here, but I hear everyone says Luang Prabang was great.
It was so good.
But, it might even be the fact that we can't get a full ICC, but I'm pretty sure the borders between Vietnam and Laos would be one of the first to open up, so we may be able to just even have a friendly or something.
Just keep watching it, So when was the last team or tournament to tour Laos? Was it Luang Prabang or anything in between?
To have in Laos or win? What did you say, sorry?
Last game or tournament in Laos.
Oh yeah, no, we haven't had any game here since we've been here. We really only play twice a year, Indochina and Asia Champs. That's our football for the year.
So obviously you just said maybe Vietnam could jump across, but you guys would be keen to host some touring parties if the chance pops up?
Yeah, well, we talked to Bali about an Anzac Day game at one stage as well, but look, if there's anything that can happen this year, as long as we can get. The other problem is the boys' roster out at Sepon's pretty tight at the moment. They're keeping them in as long as they can, so they're not back out in the community a lot. So a lot would depend on COVID, but we would be happy to, have a friendly if we can arrange it for sure.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we need to be really mindful of any tournaments, whether it be ICC or Asian Champs, is the bottom line is going to be quarantine, either going into the country or coming home. If you're someone like me who gets 2 weeks off a year, you're not going to just fly into Vietnam and stay in quarantine and fly home. So logistically, it's probably going to be a bit of a nightmare. And I guess the next months is going to be pretty.
They're talking here, Matt, that they're going to have 14-day quarantine to at least January is the general consensus at the moment. So realistically, it's not going to happen. So we're still 14-day lockdown on anyone arriving. Not that there's much arriving, but even from Thailand, that they can get across the land border, some local. Like if they're allowing people in now that need to get back for work and stuff like that, but they've got to go 14-day lockdown before they go back to work. So
and one more before we start the tribal sport friendly fire round. You mentioned that Paul's contract's coming up, maybe ending in October, which would be a shame. Particularly for the Laos Elephants. I'm actually going to leave Japan at the end of March, early April next year. And there's a bit of a worry in my heart who's going to take the reins once I leave, and will the club still exist 6 months down the track? I have similar fears for the Laos Elephants. I'm not sure whether you do, but can you give us an insight into what may occur post Paul and the mates?
I think we're lucky because we've got the Simos and the Langers that are married to Laos, so they're locals basically, so they're always going to be here. So I think those boys will always try and field teams for those two tournaments still, because most of our sponsorship comes from contractors out at Sepon. So Sepon, we really should be called the Lao Sepon Elephants because everything comes out of Sepon more or less. But I think those boys will do their best to still field teams, and I'm pretty comfortable that they will. And then we've got a couple of locals who are really, really, really heavily involved. So like Zach is my sponsorship guy. Zach gets all the sponsorship from the contractors and stuff, so he's really actively in that space. And our sponsorship is really vital because our boys can't afford to go anywhere. So our sponsorship goes completely to funding our local boys to travel for those 2 tournaments. So Lucky and Zach are very heavily involved in that area. And I think Lucky and Zach would be very sad to see it not be around. So I think the 4 of them will be strong enough to keep a team coming. I don't know how well they'll be dressed or whether they'll be matching, but they'll be there. They might be in all lots of old uniforms or whatever they can rally up. They won't have the brand new one every tournament like we do. But no, I'm pretty confident that those boys will still field teams at games, but it'll be very, very social.
Yeah, it's great to get some buy-in from your locals, particularly a guy like Lucky, who have had a bit to do with it as well. And Zach, it's fantastic to hear that they're going to hopefully be the future and continue the generations of many Laos Elephants to come. That time of the day where we go into our tribal sport friendly fire round. And just before we do, what I'd like you to do, matriarch, is just to lift your shirt up because you've actually got a tribal sport Laos Elephant shirt on.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I have.
So
they were great. They helped us design our last couple. They were fantastic. I loved working with those guys. They were so and we always leave it to the last bloody minute because we never know how much money we've got. And they turned them around and got them to me. And thanks to the Thailand Tigers because I got them delivered straight there, so we didn't have to worry about getting them to Lao. And yeah, they were great. Tribal sports were awesome to work with. I would recommend them to any sporting team to use for sure.
So jump on to David Lake and the crew at Tribal Sport. They'll help your team out with any apparel needs. This is the Tribal Sport Friendly Fire Round brought to you by Tribal Sport. Over to you, Billy Bang Bang Krang. I didn't start the fires.
Right, well, that's the best sponsor plug we'll ever get. But I'll just let Kai jump in before I get into the questions. Mum, who's your biggest footy idol? He'd like to know.
Oh, you, bud. Of course, my baby boy. It comes up later, mate. You'll find out soon.
So what nicknames have you gone by?
So I really only have 2, I guess, and that's the nieces and nephews. Caroline was quite hard to say, so I've always been Auntie Kaza, and that's what the Lao boys call me, Kaza. It's just easier than Caroline, so Kaza. And at school and through sport and my puri life, I was always just Lowy. My last name was Lowe, so Lowy.
Yep. And what clubs have you played for? The Tigers and
Port Douglas.
Port Douglas and the
Port
Tigers.
Douglas Crocodiles.
Yep.
Port Douglas Crocodiles. Yep, and the Port Douglas Crocs, I think we were. Port Douglas Crocs, and then just Lao. They're the only 2 footy teams I've played for. I played. Yep. No, we didn't even have girls footy at school. No, just those 2. Yep.
So what's your favourite position on the field?
Oh, I'm lazy, so full forward. No, I probably like centre half forward because I probably like to. I think when I was younger, I liked centre half forward because I liked getting into the action a bit, and I like to have a bit of a tackle. I used to be a bit fitter, so I like to run and chase people down and give them a bit of a swing.
What's your favourite number if you are playing?
13. Every team I play, any sport I play, number 13 is my number.
Okay, you mentioned your AFL teams, the Crows. Who's your favourite player in the AFL?
Well, I guess any girl from South Australia would say my favourite player. I should say Bickley, I guess, but I guess without the Jarmans and all of those sort of guys that we always loved, but I guess Modra was my favourite back in the day because he was pretty good to look at. But I guess these days it's Rory Sloane, I would say. Yep. Although I do love, what's that guy's name? Kai will help me here. From Port Power, the young guy that was, what's his name?
Rosie.
In the forwards.
Rosie.
Yeah, I love Rosie. He's great.
Him and Butters, pretty good.
Yeah,
so,
he is.
Who's been your best teammate on the teams you've played for?
Probably Jodie Munsberg.
Okay.
So do you know her, Matt? So I'd say Jodie Munsberg would be. She was always like my big sister, but she was always there, support, pick you up. Yeah, I'd say Jodie Munsberg.
And your most annoying teammate?
Milne.
Felicity Walsh.
Most difficult opponents.
Difficult. Oh, those Cambodia girls, any one of them, they're bloody quick and they're good. I asked you guys before, I think she's the captain of the team. She plays in the centre and she just doesn't stop. She's a freak. She was amazing. Bit like really, really fit and muscly. But my favourite player, can I say who my favourite player that I played against was so fun. Like she was full back, I was full forward. She'd let me have a little run, but she was right there on top of me.
So Fon's actually got one of the comments in the post here saying that she was happy that Caroline was her defender for the ICC in Bangkok. So
yeah, she was
that feeling was more than mutual. What's your best AFL Asia memory?
When we won a game.
Yeah.
So there was a game we beat Hong Kong, and and it was their third team, I think. But we won a game, and the look on those boys' faces, and the girls that were jumping around. And I remember taking photos of the scoreboard and putting it as our post on Facebook because it was the most exciting game we'd ever had. So but I think any trip's fun though.
Yep. What's your favourite meal?
Seafood.
Okay.
Not
too much seafood in Lao, or
no, it's all we do
river
get it, but it comes from Thailand. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we don't eat. I don't eat river fish. No. Have you seen the meekock?
Yeah. I don't eat fish either. Cats or dogs?
Neither really, but dogs.
Okay. Tea or coffee?
Neither really, but tea.
Favorite holiday destination?
Vietnam.
Oh, nice. So you could invite any 4 people to a dinner. Who would they be?
I've got here David Goggins, Barack Obama.
Wow. Yep.
Eddie Maguire.
Ooh.
And I would have loved Lady Di, but that's a bit hard. So I've got either the Queen or Prince William, whoever could actually join me.
Yeah. Okay. What would be 3 things that people may not know about you?
I think 3 things, if you don't follow me and you just know me as a football person, would be I'm currently doing a lifestyle coaching course to be a life coach, I'm hoping.
Oh.
So that's been really great. I also played a lot of sport, like rep sport, as I grew up. So I was always playing softball, netball and basketball for Puri or wherever we lived.
Yep.
And then I guess most people that follow me would know this, but I'm really right into self-development at the moment and bettering myself with yoga and more spiritual stuff. And I love drinking. Health is very high on my agenda at the moment, mind, body and soul. And I love drinking my ketones every day. So being healthy is something that if you follow me, you would know. But if you don't, you don't. So, yeah.
Yep. What do you like most about footy in Asia?
I think I said it before, the camaraderie in the Asia game. I love watching the local boys all play each other and have fun. And just meeting. I mean, I just love meeting I've loved how I've been so welcomed and valued by the leaders of whoever it's been. Like, I didn't really have a lot to do with Keezy, but I mean, Matt's been great, and I have to say Kero. I'll never hear the end of it, but I've loved the whole community environment. I love it.
Yep. How do you see the future of Asian footy and how it can impact communities throughout Asia?
I'm a little bit, to be honest, I'm a little bit nervous. I think Simon is great addition to AFL Asia when he gets a chance. I guess we haven't really had a chance for him to do a lot because of COVID, but he's a great guy. And I think I'm a bit nervous of the Matts of the world leaving. And I think as long as the people like you and Kero and and Jared and, those guys are around, I think it's always going to be okay. But you're always going to have to replace people like Keezy, and we were lucky to have Matt. And then Matt, we always have to be careful that we've got someone in a leadership role. But I think if there's always a great leader, it's never going to fail because there's always enough. It's a great. Who would not want to follow football? Please, come on.
Yep.
Now, we might leave it there. It's been absolutely fantastic catching up with you today, and you've actually really defined the role of matriarch as we've spoken to you today. I think it's really shone out for those people that may not necessarily know you, but coming from a smaller club in Laos that doesn't tour, or they only go to Asian Champs and not TC. But from a AFL Asia perspective, we're really proud and really happy with the involvement you've had over the past 4 years, and that backbone of the Laos Football Club. It's going to be a big shoes to fill once you guys eventually do leave Laos, and hopefully that's not in the not too distant future, but hopefully can stick around a little bit longer. But it's been fantastic catching up with you today. Absolutely outstanding. Have you got anything that you'd like to say to anyone that's involved with footy and moving forward?
Well, I guess I've said Kero's name enough, so he'll be happy. No, I just wish every club the best, and I think it's great. I love to see as many girls teams out there. I think it's a growth, and I think it's great for, especially if we can get some of the the local boys bringing their partners along that are local as well. That would be great to introduce them in. But good luck if I'm not around and I don't see anyone again. I'll miss you all, and I'm sure that there's enough of you I'm connected with on Facebook. But good luck, and thank you all thank you guys for having me on. I was a little bit, I was like, why do you want me, Matt? Like, I was like, me. But thank you guys for having me, and thanks to everyone who's welcomed me into the AFL Asia community, and I wish you all the best. And as I said, goodbye if I don't see you again.
Yeah, thanks for your contribution, but I'm sure you'll be around a little bit longer than what you suggest. But thanks for joining us, Bill.
No worries. Thanks, Caroline.
Thanks, Bill. Thank you.
And thanks, Caroline. This has been AFL Asia's How Good's Footy in Asia, AFL Asia's official podcast, episode number 8. It's been brilliant catching up with Caroline Bottrill. And until next time, take care, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
See you. Bye.